Hello and welcome to It's Only Electric. This is the Kia EV9 GT-Line, the highest spec version of the EV9. And this video is about testing range, consumption, acceleration, noise and charging of this big beast. But let's start with some facts. With 7 seats inside, so big interior, measuring 5 meters in total length and has a wheelbase of 3.1 meters. This edition, the 4-wheel drive GT-Line, is driving on all 4 wheels, so 2 permanent magnet motors delivering 190-ish horsepower each. So total combined output is 385 horsepower and 700 Newton-meters of torque. That should be able to deliver a 0 to 100 time in 5.3 seconds. So this is the quickest car, the quickest version of the Kia EV9. Top speed, 200 kilometers per hour, and it has the big battery pack with a gross capacity of 99.8 kilowatt hours and a net capacity of 94 kilowatt hours. And that translates into a certified WLTP range of 505 kilometers. Driving on 21-inch big wheels, 285/45 all around. In this case, driving on studless winter tires, Nokian Hakkapeliitta R5 SUV studless tires to be able to handle the cold and the slippery roads today. Let's see if these tires will help us to achieve the 0 to 100 time and the actual range. Plastic wheel covers to reduce the air resistance around the tires. So underneath this, there is traditional aluminum spokes. Enough of facts, it's time to take this car for a drive and start with a range and consumption test. If you want to know more about the EV9, I just released a full review of it. I put the link up here. Let's go. So this is the first stretch of my range and consumption test. I have been driving 14.5 kilometers until now, and the average consumption is 24.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So let me just explain the concepts of this range and consumption test. I always drive the same route. It's a 80 kilometers long stretch with different speeds from 50 ranging up all the way to 110 kilometers per hour. And the average speed is 93 kilometers per hour. So I always stick to certain rules. Rule number 1, dry mode, eco active if it exists, and it does in this car. So eco mode is active. Rule number 2, that's the climate control. So I set the climate control to auto and 20 degrees, always the same. And the last rule, I always stick to the speed limits. And all these 3 rules is to be able to create as consistent result as possible, so I can compare it to other cars I have tested, because I always run the same stretch. Brief information about the conditions today. Currently -1 degree Celsius, still almost fully dry roads. I would call it semi-wet maybe, but more to the dry side. Currently no snow, no rain whatsoever, and the wind seems to be very calm today, so this will be a decent winter range test of the EV9. So it will be really exciting to see what range it will be able to achieve. I mean, 505 kilometers of WLTP range with this big rims, and as you saw earlier, the front of the car is really flat. This is a beast. But Kia are using and utilizing a high-tech platform and good technology, so they are known to be efficient. But let's see about the EV9. I don't know yet. So I will just briefly mention all the beeping and how to turn that off. As I have mentioned in earlier videos about the new EU regulation, there is beeping going on when passing the speed and when the speed changes. Did you hear that beep? That beep is actually a good beep, because the car seems to have a built-in navigation feature, even if you're not navigating, that warns you about speed cameras. So a amount of distance before the actual camera, it gives you a kind of little sound, a ping sound, warns you with a camera symbol on the instrument cluster. and the moment you pass it, it gives you another chime. That one you heard now. That's a really neat feature, and that is probably a function you want to keep active, because it will help you to avoid driving too fast when there is cameras around. But what I wanted to say is you probably want to turn off the EU regulation beeps when you go a bit too fast. It will beep very soon because it's active. Now, you hear that? So I'm actually going 2 kilometers per hour over 80, and the current speed limit here is 80. It starts blinking and then gives me 3 or 4 beeps, then stops. If I keep the speed, it will continue warning me. Yeah, another warning. You probably want to turn that off because it also gives you a beep when the speed limit changes. And there is actually a setting for that. I haven't found any way of adding it as a shortcut, because that would be really good, because there's 2 possibilities for shortcuts, one on the steering wheel and one on the dashboard. At least one of them could have been great to be able to map to deactivate and reactivate that functionality. But I will show you how to do. What you do, you press the setup button here on the dashboard, you enter the vehicle settings and driver assist settings. After that, you have a speed sign most further to the right called speed limit. If you press that one, it's annoying. If you press that one, come on, this is not good. But it goes for all cars. So back to the menu. You press the speed limit sign to the right. Now it's set to speed limit warning. And that says that it will provide a warning when the current speed limit is exceeded. And that's what we want to avoid. Now it changed the speed and warned me. So what I want to do, I want to change that from speed limit warning to speed limit information. Or you may want to turn it off totally. But if you turn it off completely, it won't even show the speed sign on the screen. I don't think that's a function that's good to keep. So my recommendation is to change it from speed limit warning to speed limit information. And that will get rid of the sounds. So just hitting the halfway, 40 kilometers put behind. Average consumption until now, 22.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So just about 22 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That's in the specified ballpark by Kia, I guess. But we will see the final score later on. That beep, by the way, is another beep, and that's the driver camera warning me about looking at the wrong direction, etc. That's also possible to turn off, the driver surveillance functionality. A sad thing though is that the temperature is now -2 degrees and it's light snow outside, which means that the roads are a bit more damped at this occasion, which means that it will get harder to get a decent consumption score here. Let us look at the breakdown of the consumption. Seems like 80% has gone for driving, 6% for electronics, 14% to the climate. Nothing for heating up the battery. So battery care, 0%. Another cool feature that I found is in the climate menu, you can actually turn on a function called driver only. That means that it turns off the climate at the rear seats and also at the passenger seat. So it only heats up the driver as such. And that will also save you some amount of energy. I mean, for those times you don't drive it with your family and out driving yourself, then that will be something you should activate to save energy. So back home from the range and consumption test, the final result, 22.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometer as an average consumption. That equals to a total range of 410 kilometers. I mean, during winter conditions, -2 degrees, wet roads, that can be considered good. That's 81% of the stated WLTP range during wintertime. So during optimal conditions in summertime, good temperatures, dry roads, you will probably be able to achieve the stated WLTP range. Let's move on to the acceleration test. Okay, so getting ready for the first drag session. State of charge 91%. It's -4 degrees outside. The roads are dry and the car is fairly heated up, so let's try this. And dry mode, sports mode is active. Yes, go. Oh, it's a bit too slippery. Look, 0 to 100, 5.67 seconds. 0 to 60, 5.36 seconds. And that's with a small amount of wheel spin. It's time for the second 0 to 100 test. Let's see how this goes. Ready, state of charge 91%, sports mode active. Move. Come on.
0 to 60 miles per hour time 5.37 seconds. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time 5.68 seconds.
Okay, so 5.68 seconds, very similar results as the first test. Let's do another one. I mean, the roads are a bit too cold, a bit too slippery. I'm not sure that I will be able to achieve a better score than this. Let's do a third attempt. State of charge 90%. Go. Better grip this time. Come on.
0 to 60 miles per hour time 5.20 seconds. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time 5.53 seconds.
Okay, so perfect test. Total green, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 5.53 seconds. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.2 seconds. And that's with a state of charge of 90%. So, final results when it comes to the accelerations. I did a couple of runs and the best possible time I achieved was 5.53 seconds in 0 to 100 kilometers per hour and 5.3 seconds in 0 to 60 miles per hour. That's 0.2 seconds from Kia's own stated acceleration time. And I mean, during winter time, cold conditions, a bit slippery outside and with winter tires, that's pretty darn good for such a big sized and heavy car like the Kia EV9. I mean, 2.6 tons, that's heavy, and a bit softer winter tires. So during better weather conditions and on dry roads, you will probably be able to beat the specified 0 to 100 time. So let's look at the cabin noise. I'm always measuring the cabin noise in the same position. So I place the microphone underneath the headrest. So that means that I try to create as comparable results as possible between the cars I test. And I always drive the same stretch of roads and I measure the noise in different speeds, 50, 70, 90 and 110 kilometers per hour. So this is the result. And to compare it with other cars in the same segment, it sits just in between the Xpeng G9 and the Neo EL7. So it's a bit more silent than the EL7, but a bit more noisy than the G9. But those three cars are very, very close to each other, and all cars can be considered as really comfortable and silent. Compared to a Model Y, for instance, that's a totally different league. This car is a lot more silent. And that's without double pane windows, so no insulation glass at all in this car. So the insulation underneath the car and in the doors seems to be really good handled. So now it's time for the last thing to do, and that's the charging. According to the specifications, the top speed of the charging should be 210 kilowatts of peak power on a 800 volt charger. So I need to find a charger that's able to handle that, 800 volts and at least 250 kilowatts, but I have a charger in mind that can deliver 300 kilowatts of peak power on 800 volts, so that should be fine. So it's getting late, but I have just plugged in the car to a charger, 300 kilowatts charger, 800 volt system. So One lessons learned, or one key takeaway, is that when you drive the car down all the way to 10%, the preheating functionality for the charging stops at 12. So it gives you a message that says that not enough battery to preheat. So what I did, I entered a fast charger as the destination, this fast charger actually, and it immediately started to warm up the battery pack. Very clear, very neat, works perfectly fine. But if you are low on charge, so at 12%, it actually turns off the preheating. And that's a bit sad, at least when it knows where the charger is, because in this case I had 2 kilometers left to the charger, but it still switches that off. I mean, that close to a charger, it would not turn off the preheating, because it's important, because I need to have the full speed. I think that would be an easy fix from Kia. I have been charging for almost 6 minutes. I have reached a state of charge at 27%, and the peak power is actually currently 204 kilowatts. And it's pending between 198 and 204 currently, going up and down a little bit. The AC is turned off at the moment to be able to save some energy, but I hear that the fans for heating the battery is ongoing. Maybe now it's even cooling it down, I don't know. It's 7 degrees outside, but it's very close to the peak power of 210 kilowatts stated by Kia. So let's see if we can beat the 24 minutes stated time by Kia. I'm not sure, but it certainly looks good. Hopefully it will be able to keep a very flat curve. So just finalize the charge session. Total charge time, 25 minutes and 32 seconds. That's darn close to the specified 24 minutes. Peak speed, 209 kilowatts. Speed at the end of the session at 80%, just above 90 kilowatts. This is a good charge curve, very flat charge curve. And this is the final result. This is the graph of the charging curve, and you will see all the speeds for all the percentages state of charge. Enjoy. You can really say that Kia delivers according to specified time and specified speed when it comes to charging, also acceleration, and I think it over delivers when it comes to cabin noise, a very silent car. The last part, the range and consumption test, just about 400 kilometers of range during wintertime. That should be considered good given the conditions. So all in all, this is a stable car with numbers that you can trust. That's my final verdict of the Kia EV9. If you are in the market and looking for a full-size SUV, a 7-seater with a lot of space, decent range, quick, powerful, good charge curve, this may be your best choice. I mean, it's for sure, for the moment, the cheapest available 7-seater on the market. For you guys that didn't know that, I have just released the memberships of my channel, and as a member you get access to my videos a couple of days before I actually release it to the rest. So please subscribe to my membership. That's the best way of helping me to create more content like this. And as usual, subscribe, thumbs up, and engage. Thank you for watching. Speak to you soon.